All right, let's get cracking. Everybody, welcome to another edition. What's this called, Jimmy? Another edition of the Open Source Entrepreneur. Whatever it is, we're doing it live on a Tuesday night to make sure that everybody understands just exactly how crazy we are interviewing people live, where technology is a factor. Things are factors. It just happens. But super stoked to be here on a Tuesday. We might even have 2 episodes this week. We're actually going to come to you live on Thursday night as well with another guest. But tonight's guest, we could not let pass by. We knew we had to have her on again. Matter of fact, the only guest we've had on twice so far, because her first episode brought in so many questions, so much intrigue about her world, that we wanted to bring her back on and have a really great conversation. But before we do, Jimmy, I'm not going to fool you tonight with the take it or leave it, but I am going to give you a quote that leads into what we're talking about tonight,
Okay.
and that is this. The quote of the week that I have is about travel. So you guys guessed it, we're going to bring actually Janae back on to talk all things travel related, but this quote says, "Travel is the only thing you buy that makes you richer."
Hmm.
Yeah, that's what I said. I was like, maybe it does. Rich memories. For obviously, I think the biggest thing about that is memories. It's amazing how yes, you do spend money, you do buy the things, but travel makes you richer, right? Like richer from a cultural standpoint, from a family standpoint, from a memory standpoint. I love the quote. I don't know who said it. It says anonymous. I'm sure a lot of people have said it, but it is one of the things that makes you richer. What are your thoughts on that?
I 100% believe that. Doing hospice, for a while, there's quite a few patients that I'd have where they had saved. Then when it would come to retirement, they'd buy a motor home, they'd buy, get ready just to travel the world, and then they end up finding out one of their partners got a terminal cancer and they just can't go anymore.
Yeah.
And, is I've never met somebody that's gone on an awesome vacation and came back and said 5 years later, 2 years later, I wish I would not have gone on that vacation.
Agreed. Agreed. 100%. Guys, take the time, take the vacation, take the PTO. I think it's here in the States anyway, around the idea that we constantly work, and there's a little bit of bragging that happens and we're like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so busy. I'm so busy. I've got hundreds of hours of PTO," and we never use it. We never strike that work-life balance. At the beginning of my career, I was always very jealous of my European or my South Pacific counterparts who would take holiday for 3 or 4 weeks at a time. And I'm like, how are you doing this? Because when I'm gone for 7 days, I feel an immense amount of panic. And I think that's just kind of what's happened in the culture, especially here in the States. And so I love the fact that people are now realizing I need to strike a better balance to my work-life balance, get out, see the world, visit other countries, visit other states. I know people outside of the United States of America clown on us a little bit because some people don't have passports. But and I've seen other influencers talk about this where they say, you don't recognize how big the United States is. I saw these guys from England say, people always make fun of Americans because they don't have passports. That they're like, we can travel our whole country inside of a couple hours. In the States, you go a couple hours and you're still inside the same state.
Hmm.
They're like, they have no reason to leave. So, guys, there's an amazing opportunity to travel all over the place and just create some really cool memories. Jimmy, I'm not going to delay any longer. I'm actually going to pull on our guest. I'm going to pull her on, and while I'm bringing her on, we'll invite her. I'm going to read her on one more time just so people understand who she is. We're having Janae Jakins on. She's a passionate travel advisor, adventurer, seeker, and dedicated mom of three. After nearly 25 years of marriage and a fulfilling career in education, primarily sixth grade education, Janae's turned her lifelong love of travel into a new professional chapter. With a master's degree in reading education and a knack for organization, she now specializes in curating unforgettable trips for families, couples, and first-time travelers. Whether it's a cruise to the Caribbean or a custom itinerary across Europe, Janae's on a mission to help others experience the magic of seeing the world. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Janae
Thank
Jakins.
you.
So excited to have
Welcome
you. I
Thank
back.
am
you. Hey,
so
that was a pretty
excited
good
for
bio
this.
cut, Casey. Thanks for that.
What's that?
I said that was a pretty good bio.
Hey, not bad. I just took your first one and tweaked it a little bit. But people need to understand how an amazing of a person Janae is. We absolutely love having her in our neighborhood, and even more so as close friends. And we've just been absolutely fascinated, Janae, the response that we've had from your podcast, your first podcast about general travel. So we knew that we said because she specializes in cruises, and because cruises are, I'm going to say like a little mysterious for a lot of people. We wanted
Yeah.
to bring you on and destigmatize like how scary a cruise is. Jimmy and I have both been on cruises. You've been on multiple cruises, and I think there is that there's that scariness of hitting your first cruise and trying to understand what's going to happen. How do I get on the boat? What about the muster station? All these weird things that people get nervous about. And so
Yeah.
we thought, man, if we have Janae on, and we will definitely like destigmatize some of the scariness behind going on cruises. Sound like a plan?
Sounds good.
Yeah. Janae, tell us first and foremost why a cruise versus like a land-based trip. What's so intriguing about a cruise?
I think the best thing about a cruise is it's like an all-inclusive on water. So you don't have to think about where you're going to go for dinner. You don't have to think about how you're going to feed your family. You don't have to think about activities. It's all provided for you. And I feel like the more days you're on the ship, the more you can explore the ship. You find that there's more things to do. So I feel like it's endless entertainment and endless food, and you didn't have to pay for either of those. You've paid for it all up front, and you pay for it months in advance. So by the time you're on your cruise, you can just enjoy. You don't have to think about additional money you're paying. I mean, you could really just go there and not pay a penny more. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Agreed.
I just think it's a great way.
And now there are, and this is where I think some people get a little bit nervous. You said it's all inclusive, which by and large it is. There are some usually on the cruise ships. There are some like restaurants sometimes, or like even in
Hmm.
the main dining room. Sometimes there's like if you want eight like lobster tails, they're going to end up charging you for one or two extra. So there are some things, but by and large, guys, it's an all inclusive type deal. You get on the boat and you can just go. There's certainly packages you can add on to make your experience let's say more comfortable maybe for you. Like if you're a drinker of some sort, there are alcohol packages or soda packages. There's Wi-Fi packages. Pretty much anything that you would want, you can buy a package for. But the
Hmm.
moment you step on that boat, that's what I tell people. Like you get to like just leave your cares behind because everything is taken care of for you. Um,
Yeah.
and it's just such a relaxing experience. Um, what are some common, what are kind of some common misconceptions people have about cruises, especially for their first go round? What are some things that they're just not like they have a misconception about?
I think the money's one of them. Like I did have someone say where can we eat anywhere?
Yeah,
Like do we pay for the buffet? And so no, like traditional cruise, I guess I say traditional because we do have other cruise ships that run things a little bit differently. But let's say like our common ones we hear about Royal and Carnival, um we have NCL, so we have Norwegian, we have MSC. They all have a buffet that you eat at,
yeah.
and then there's a main dining room. And same thing with Disney. So you're going to have your main dining room where it's all paid for through your initial payment. And then, like you said, yes, if you want your alcohol or if you want soda, that's going to be additional. Now on Disney, soda's not additional. So that's something that comes with your additional cost. And that's actually why it's really nice to go with a travel agent and have them kind of explain the different things because different ships are going to be different.
Yep.
Virgin, if you do Virgin Voyages, which is a fantastic option, their dining experience is very different. You eat in like a five-star restaurant every single night. So you make those reservations in advance.
Mm.
They don't cost any additional, but you're eating at a different restaurant every night. So maybe it's Mexican one night, maybe it's Italian one night. Um, it's a wonderful experience and everything's included. So when you go on a Virgin, you get your internet, you get your food, you
Mm.
get a lot of stuff that's included. So if you look at the initial cost, it looks a little bit more, but at the same time, it's going to be a little bit different experience. Also, those are 18 and above. So there will be no kids when you go on a Virgin trip,
Okay.
which is extremely relaxing when you want to just get away and
Yeah.
Sounds
not
like
have
heaven.
kids streaming down like the in the pool. So
Yeah.
different experiences, but I think it is a misconception that what costs more. But each ship, each line is a little bit different what those additional costs are. But you really could get away with really not spending hardly anything extra.
Yeah. Now you mentioned kind of just a second ago, like three or four different cruise lines. What are kind of some of tell us like the main four or five cruise lines that you hear about often, and what are kind of some of the differences? Because people may be a little confused about the different cruise lines and what you can kind of get from those.
Okay, so I think the most common one and the one that's been around for super long is Carnival. Some people call Carnival the Walmart of the seas. It's truly has like stepped up its game.
Okay.
We really enjoy Carnival. In fact, we've had some wonderful food on Carnival that we've compared to Royal, and we've been like, wait, I think that Carnival ship was better than Royal's.
Interesting.
Carnival's upline is Princess. Princess is a beautiful ship. Um, it used to be like for the old people, but I think that they've kind of upped their game too. Print I don't know, I could talk all day. I'm probably gonna sidetrack. So you've got Carnival that they've got like their littler ships and their bigger ships. They used to not have all the bells and whistles on, and now Carnival's up their game. So you've got their Carnival Mardi Gras, that's a huge ship
Okay.
with tons of stuff to do, tons of slides and different activities like that. And then Royal really has really taken the market on just these big, monstrously huge ships. You've
Yes.
got the Icon of the Sea, which is monster. It's just got a million slides and a million
Hmm.
um, places for the kids to play. Royal also has the surfing thing, the flow
The
riders
flow rider.
on
Yeah.
most of
I've
their
followed
ships.
on that before.
Me too. Lots of fun. So Royals kind of coined like they have lots of things. Norwegian, so NCL is what it's also called. They also have a lot of fun things. They have rope swing, like they have like a ropes course and a zip line.
Oh yeah.
And then MSC is like a newer line. It's an Italian line. Their ships are absolutely beautiful. They pride themselves on making them extremely beautiful. They just opened their, I think it's called World American cruise, and it has a swing that swings out over the ocean.
Oh
Oh,
my
So
gosh.
awesome.
it's like terrifyingly awesome.
That is really
So
cool.
their ship, they've upped their game too. I think they're realizing like the more toys and bells and whistles that they have to um, get people on their cruise, then they're going to get, I mean, obviously more customers. I think Royal kind of set the stage, in my opinion. This is my opinion. I think Royal set the stage as like making the ship just like a big adventure.
Yeah.
And I think everyone else is kind of following. But they have some amazing ships. Now, that being said, if you don't want to go on a ship with a million kids, again, that's a good point to like talk to somebody like me, and I can say, well, let's like find you a ship that's like doesn't have the bells and whistles. So we went on one of the smallest ships of Royal on in January, and it
Okay.
didn't have a lot of kids on it. We still had a pool. That was really all that it had, and my boys still had a great time, but we didn't have a lot of kids, which was really nice. So if you want a quieter ship, don't choose Icon of the Seas or Star of the Seas that's coming out in I think August. I think Star of the
Okay.
Seas, which is another Icon class. Like those are not going to be quiet ships. There's going to be a lot of people on those ships. So
Yeah, no, that
So
makes
one
sense.
thing I was thinking about with Janae is, all the it seems like these ships, it's like a contest on who's bigger,
yes.
better, faster. But one thing I think about too is, yes, it might be a great ship, but when it comes to docking, is that something you got to think about? Because I think about, the bigger the ship, it could be a bigger hassle to get off, to get to your destinations, to get taxis, because some of those countries you go to, they can't accommodate that many people. So is that something to think about when traveling?
Yeah. And like those bigger ships, like Icon, that one just came out last year, and Stars is coming out this year that are the same, the Icon class. They are limited in what ports they go to. So people that go on those, they always go to like those always go to Nassau. Um, I can't remember a lot of the itineraries, but they're not going to be able to go into like your smaller ports. So if you want to go to those like unique ports like St. Martin or St. Kitts or Aruba, they can't fit those big ships there. They just can't accommodate them. And so yeah, and it's gonna take longer. I haven't been on one that big, but I also have heard like, buffets are busier because there's more
A
people.
lot of people.
And so probably patience is the key on some of those, and being a little patient, because you're accommodating like 7,000 8,000 people versus 3,000 4,000
Mhm.
on a smaller ship, so there's quite a few more people.
So when you're talking, I was going to ask that question. When you're talking ship size, is there two, three categories? I think people frequently think, man, I'm gonna, no matter what ship I'm gonna be dealing with like 8 or 10,000 people. And
No.
certainly some of those icon ones are big. But talk to us kind of about the different sizes of ships that are available in kind of like ish sizes, right?
Okay,
This is
so
where size does matter. We just want to make that clear,
Yes,
correct?
thank
yes.
you, Jimmy. Yes.
Okay.
Um, so you have small ships. So if you're gonna go like luxury lines, we can talk luxury lines too. You've got like Viking. Um, you can go like as small as under 1,000 people that are going to be on
Oh,
ships like that. And so Viking is going to be more like their niche is more like river cruises. So
okay.
Viking will go down like Nile River. That's one on my bucket list. So they'll do like
Yeah.
down and like in like small fjords where like big ships can't fit into.
Okay.
That's a luxury line. Viking's a beautiful ship. They're going to be small. So you're going to have not lots of people. The smallest group of ships for Royal is called Vision Class.
Okay.
And I think, oh gosh, I'm going to misquote it, but it's under, I think it was around 3,000 total, and that included crew.
Oh,
So I might be a little off on there, but it was small. It's not a
yeah.
big ship. Um, it's funny. I showed my students and they're like, that's a big ship. I'm like, it's actually one of the smallest ships. So
Yeah.
it's a small one. Carnival, same thing. Like you're gonna have the Conquest. I'm trying to think what it's called, and it's not very big. But then Carnival has Mardi Gras, that is gonna have like 5,000 people. And I'm probably misquoting all of this, but I'm trying to think size.
Yeah.
Um,
I think that's fair.
Oasis class is the second to largest ship size for Royal, and I believe they're like 6,000 including crew, 6,500.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, there you have a huge variety of classes. In fact, Royal has probably 7 or 8 classes of ships,
Okay.
depending on sizes. And Carnival's close to that also.
Okay.
MSC is not that much. MSC doesn't have as many ships. Disney only has like 6 or 7 in their whole fleet,
The
but
fleet.
by 2030, I think they are upping that to at least 10. Like
Okay.
they have big plans.
Yeah.
But Disney ships aren't super big either. Like they're smaller. So
So
I think definitely is the biggest
okay.
currently, I would say.
So it's safe to assume unless you're going to hit one of those big like icons or something, you're probably give or take 5,000 ish people,
Hmm.
right? Like that's probably a pretty safe number. Let's yeah, and so I think that's what one thing that I thought about when I went on my first cruise. I'm like, okay, there's gonna be 5,000 people. It is gonna feel super crowded, and it's gonna
And
take
it
forever to get
doesn't.
food, and it's gonna be like this massive, just huge mess. It really isn't.
No.
It's laid out in such a way that yes, there are people, right? Like you're on a floating city, so there are people there. But
Hmm.
like dinner time was actually really quite pleasant. The buffets were not bad. Like it really is not as bad as people think. Matter of fact, I before I went on my first cruise, I was like, no way, I don't want to do cruises. And we've ended up on like 3 of them in the last couple of years. And I told my wife today, I said, I think I'm inadvertently turning into a cruise person. I didn't set out to be, but I think I'm like turning into a cruise person. Like I get it. Like I get why people would do it. And so I think it's something that everybody should experience at one point in time. I do think, Janae, talk to me a little bit because I know there are some people who are nervous about being seasick. That
Yes.
obviously is something like motion sickness. If you are prone to motion sickness, it may not be the right thing for you. What are your thoughts on saying, you know what, give a nice 3 day, a nice 3 night cruise a chance
Mhm.
before you commit to like a 7 or 9 night
Yes.
cruise? What are some really great options for like short, quick cruises to help people kind of ease in? And do you recommend they do that?
Yeah, in fact, I just had this question the other day. So for seasickness, like honestly, they have all these balances and stuff built into the ships that are that you really don't feel the ship. So some people, and I get super motion sick. So I wear the scopoline patch, whatever it's called, and
Yeah.
I never like I rarely will even feel nauseous. I'll feel you can feel rocking sometimes, especially I feel like going out of the Pacific is going to be worse than going out of the Atlantic.
Yeah.
Um, so if it's your first cruise, maybe try a Caribbean. Also an Alaskan cruise because you don't go super fast and it's pretty calm up there.
Yep.
Alaska is going to be a nice one that you're not going to feel a lot of that. Um, Also where your room is on the ship makes a difference to some
Let's
people.
let's talk about
So
that a
like
little bit.
so midship, if you are like really prone to seasick, make sure you're trying to find a room, and you might have to pay extra because they're the coveted rooms on midship and not too high. I wouldn't go too high. Um, I would say like midship, mid decks. Again, I get super seasick and I've been at the total front of the ship. It hasn't ever bothered me
Yeah.
with my patch. I just put my patch on the night before I get on the cruise and then make sure to change it on my third night. And then I'm fine. My dad, likewise. I mean, they've been on probably 30 or 40 cruises. He
Dang.
gets sick like with everything, and he does the patch. It doesn't bother him. So I think just finding what works for you, um, you'll be good. Um, but midship is really like for your room is the best. I know when we went on our first one, our princess, we were out of the Pacific. We were going to Mexican Riviera. And when we went to the dining room, which was at the front of the ship, I was like, oh, like, yeah, it's moving.
Yeah.
And if you look out the window and you can see it moving, I feel like that makes it worse. So I feel like you have to just like play little mind games on yourself because really it's not moving that much
Yeah.
unless it's really bad, and yeah, you might get sick, but just take precautions, like get a little patch. If you call the doctor, like you just call it the cruise patch, they'll know what you're talking about. Meglazine is good. Meglazine doesn't make you as drowsy, most people as drowsy as Dramamine makes me extremely drowsy, so I can't even mess with Dramamine, but
Okay.
the patch has always done wonders for me. So I don't know. I would say midship. And yeah, I think the suggestion of 3 days instead of like committing for 8 days and then you're sick on the ship all week, then
Yeah.
you know you can handle it.
Yeah.
And there's
Does
Yeah.
the
tons
Agreed.
of
size of the
3 day
ship matter?
options. Say what?
Does the size of the ship matter? Do you feel like the bigger it is, the
Um,
smoother it is,
I was actually curious about that because we did our vision class in January and I couldn't feel anything. I
oh
couldn't
wow.
feel anything at all. So it might matter if it's really bumpy, but we also did our Virgin cruise. We were like almost on the top deck and at the very front, and I was a little nervous. I'm like, oh, we're at the very front. Virgin, if you've seen their ships, most of the ships, the rooms are like right on the edges. Virgin has like a lip, I guess, where like their running track is here, but then their rooms are built up. So it goes,
Okay.
so it's a little more narrow. And so I was like, oh gosh, this is gonna like tip. I didn't feel anything. It was lovely. It was smooth as can be. But they've put balances on their ships, especially these new ones,
Yeah.
to help with all the rocking too. So I don't find it an issue.
Yeah.
Some people find it an issue post cruise. Like they
I've
get
heard
off the
about
ship
that.
and
People
then
that,
they're like,
yeah, trying to get their land legs
it's
back.
struggles. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
But
Do you have any tips or tricks for trying to overcome that?
the after,
Yeah.
I have no idea. In
Okay.
fact, one of my teacher friends, just got off Disney in April on the Pacific. It was so bad they didn't get a stop in Catalina
Oh,
because
dang.
Oh,
it was really bad. And so he was like, I was fine on the ship. He's like, it took him a couple days. He was like, I am just not feeling right. Um, that's definitely not a me thing. I have no idea how to deal with that, except for maybe continue wearing your scopoline patch
Yeah.
post cruise to just kind of help you get your equilibrium back. So that'd
Yeah. No,
be
that makes sense.
not my
Um,
question.
Yeah, so you talked about the different kind of like spots you'd want your room to be in, like maybe midship, mid deck. Talk about the different types of rooms because there are different rooms you can get depending upon how much
Yes.
money you want to spend. You can do like a budget type room, but you can also
Hmm.
get something larger, more spacious. Talk to us about like rooms and maybe like what people should be looking for first time versus maybe an experienced cruiser.
Okay, so this is actually kind of interesting because people will call me all the time and say, "Hey, I saw this deal online and I can get a Carnival cruise for like $300." And I'll say, "Okay, that's great. Like, let's look at it." And then we'll start looking at rooms, and they'll say, "Well, I want this kind of room." So you've got your interior room, and on Carnival you'll go as low as upper lower, so it'll be bunk
Okay.
beds. So as the very cheapest room you can get is an interior bunk bed. So if you're going with a friend and you just don't want to spend a lot, get the bunk bed. Otherwise, you have just your interior. They'll have a spacious interior. You'll have an ocean view, so you'll have like a window. And I think Royal and Carnival have started doing this now that they'll have an interior, but it has a TV that's like of the outside, so it's like you're
Oh,
watching the outside, so you don't
that's
feel
cool.
as like confined.
Yeah.
And then you'll have your balcony. Um, there'll be ocean view balconies on the big ships. You'll have your I'm trying to think what it's called now. I'm stuck. But in the big royal ships, you'll have like your central park in the center. So you'll
Oh,
have
yeah.
balconies that look into your central park. So they're
Like a
called like
promenade
I
type
think so.
deal.
Yes, I like
Yeah.
promenade balconies. So you'll have those. There's also suites that are a little bit bigger. Um, you'll have spacious balconies, which is actually what we stayed in with the boys, which was nice. But the suites are very nice too. And then you're gonna get into like your grand suite and your super expensive suites where you'll have like two levels and you'll have like a hot tub on your balcony. You have some balconies that you can book like at the front of the ships that will cost more, but you have a beautiful view because you're at the very front of the ship. So
Sure.
when I'm booking and people call and say I saw this specific price, it's really, really tricky to find exactly what they want because literally there are probably like 20 to 30 different categories on a ship of rooms.
Hmm.
So there'll be like 1V, 2V, 3V. And so we'll have to really explore to find the price that they're looking for. Um, but that also gives you lots of different options. So if you want an interior and you want a little bit nicer interior, we'll go up in category, and that just gives you like literally a couple more feet, but it really makes a big difference when you're in the room. So kind of knowing if you're going to spend a lot of time in the room versus like, do I want to spend a lot of money on a room?
Yeah.
I always tell people if they've never done a cruise before and they're on a budget, start with an interior room because once you do a balcony, you'll never want to go back
It's
to an
so hard to go
interior
back. Agreed.
because a
Agreed.
balcony just it's so beautiful. So you can like
Yeah.
eat your breakfast on the balcony and you can just go out there and you can just like watch for wildlife outside or watch the sunset or the sunrise. You can watch them I love watching them dock and like
Me
pull
too.
out the huge anchors. And so balcony is just like to me a luxury, and we can never do anything less just because it's so fun to just see the world as you're like sitting in your pajamas on, in the middle of the night.
Agreed. I totally agree. I love that's one of my favorite things is to watch you come into port and like leave, like dock and undock or whatever they call it.
Yes.
Like one of my favorite things. You did mention something a second ago. You talked about price of these rooms. I know that some people get really confused about gratuities on the ship. Talk to us about
Yes.
what do you prepay gratuities? Do you give them every night at dinner? Like talk to us about that whole setup.
Okay. This is a really good subject because when you, sorry about that.
That's okay.
Oh,
When you see the price, um, it will always include taxes and fees. That was a new law that was passed a couple months ago, maybe last year, that they always have to put that in the price. But
Okay.
that does not include your gratuities. So you have the option of adding gratuities um, before like when you're due final payment, so they're already paid for. Typically I just tell people to plan on around $20 a day for your gratuities.
and that's
Each
per
ship is going to
person,
be a little
correct?
bit different per person. Uh-huh. So you go on a 3-day cruise, you're going to be paying about $60 per person gratuities, which to me is such a great deal because people are doing everything for you. So they're cleaning your room. That includes your dining room gratuities. That includes like your laundering gratuities. That includes like the people at the bar that are like giving you your drinks gratuities, like the singers, like the entertainers. That includes everybody. So you can choose to prepay them, or when you get checked in, so you'll be checking in about 2 weeks in advance on the app. You'll check in on an app. You'll have to put a credit card on there. And so then when you're on the ship, they'll charge your gratuities. Now, the sneaky thing some people do is they say, "Oh, I don't want to pay gratuities. I just want to pay as we go." And this like drives me absolutely crazy because I feel like it's like going to a restaurant and being like, I didn't have good service. I'm not going to do any tips. Like, not realizing that your tips and money is going towards like people behind the scenes. And so, I mean, I don't know how restaurants work, but whatever. On cruises, it is going to everybody. And so people will go up to the, maybe I shouldn't tell you this. People go up to the customer service and say, I want gratuities removed.
Oh,
And they'll do that. But in my head, I'm like, okay, you spent $1,500 on this cruise. You can spend $200 more because you're gonna have like the experience of a lifetime.
yeah.
Just like it's being appreciative of what you're being given. Like it's not that much more for saying thank you. No, on top of that, like we always take cash, and if our dining experience is just out of this world, like we'll usually take cash and pay that last night and just give them an additional tip
Yeah.
because we love them, or our room service if they've like done like gone above and beyond, we'll pay them additional, and that's not needed, but they really truly work so hard to give you a beautiful experience. And these people are coming from all over the world, and they
Yep.
stay on the ships for like 9 months at a time. And they're from all over. Like our last cruise, our cute waiter was from Philippines, and he was telling us that he like just sends money home to his family. He has twins at home that he doesn't see for 9 months of the year. And that's how they afford things. Like we're true, like they're giving us a beautiful experience in turn. Like the least we can do is pay $20 a day for their gratuities. That's how I feel.
Yeah, I think
Because
I think that's totally fair. If you've never been on a cruise before, and this is what I just barely told somebody who went on a cruise, I said you're gonna like by night number two, your wait staff will know your name. They'll know as soon
hmm
as you sit down what you want to drink. Like I get a Coke Zero when I
yeah,
go, so every night I sit down, Coke Zero first thing when I sit down. Hello, Mr. Casey, how are you doing? Like they're just
yep,
so personable. They pay such close attention, which is astounding to me, especially when they flip that ship every 7 or 5 or 9
every week.
days that they're learning new people's names and remembering them for the entire time. It's really
Right.
quite a cool task. But I 100% agree. I think it's something where they're giving their all. Like pay the gratuities, guys. Give them something nice. They're doing their best, and a lot of them do come from third world countries, and it's a blessing for them to have the job and to be able to give them even more is an awesome experience to be able to do that.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I totally agree.
and I want to add on to that a little bit too, because we went on our first cruise last year, and it's kind of the same thing as you look at the bill and you're like, holy crap, I had 6 people on there. I'm like, where's this all going to? But when you really get to know those servers, I mean, our beds, linens was cleaned every single day. The dining was just wonderful. Like Casey, that they know your name, but you when you get to know them and you talk to them, that gratuity, that is paying for their kids' schooling, that's paying for their clothes, that's to help them just live a little bit better life than a lot of the people in their country that they're coming from. And it's like you
hmm
said, these gentlemen, these ladies, they're away from their families for 9 months out of a year, and this is their living. And so when you look at it that way, you just spent 4,000 on a cruise. I think you can spend another $300.
Yes, exactly. That's how
For
I
real.
look at it. Like it is what it is. And so I don't know, my suggestion always is like just pay the gratuities like when you're initially booking. That way when you get on, it's not like another big hit. You've already paid it. You don't have to worry about it. You can pay the additional like extra thank you gratuities to them if you want to, but it's already done. Sometimes if you look at some deals, they'll have like gratuities. They'll call it gratuities on us. Like right now, my company, so my overhead company is paying your gratuities for Norwegian. So if you book a
Oh,
Norwegian, I think I don't know when it goes, but they'll pay the gratuity. So you like basically you're getting $300 off of your
Oh, that
cruise.
adds up too.
So
That's really nice.
so that is a deal that they'll run, and either like through through my company or through the cruise lines directly, they will do that. And so you can look for deals like that. It's kind of like doing when you do Disney and they do like free dining and you're like, oh, I'm jumping on that because that helps. So they always have deals like that. But all in all, I just figure like just add the gratuities before, so you've already prepaid them, and then enjoy your cruise.
Yeah.
So I was going to
Speaking of
say
things you
really
can do,
quick. Oh,
go ahead,
sorry,
Jimmy.
Casey. I was going to say that really quick, Janae. With that, at different cruises, do you ever have someone call in to ask you for a cruise, and you're like, "Yes, this is Royal. They're offering this, but if you want to go with these other airlines or these other cruises, they're offering an even better incentive." Do you ever do that?
Um, I really just get to know what the customer wants. So I'm very comfortable selling Carnival. I'm very comfortable selling Royal and Princess. That's probably what I sell the most on Disney. That's probably what I sell the most of. I feel like Norwegian is like less popular on the West Coast. I feel like we don't know it as well because you can't really sell it out of California. Um, so I really just get to know what the customer wants. Norwegian's a little bit different because they don't do like the dress up days. Theirs is like casual dining all the time. They don't do like the different like dress up days. And I
Yeah.
feel like people do enjoy that. So you kind of have to know what the customer wants. That being said, yes, I will like let people know. Um, what's also fun, this is kind of off the subject, but what's also fun is like,
Do we lose her?
Yeah, I don't have audio for a second.
sorry, are you back?
Yeah,
Yep,
we're
we got
back.
you.
Okay, sorry. Something I had a pop up. Um, let me find my train of thought again. Oh, I just put a cruise on hold. I put 3 rooms on hold with Royal. Well, Royal just came out with the new promo right now that's Birthday Bash because
Mm.
it's their birthday celebration. And so they're doing all this fun onboard credit. Well, with that onboard credit, they were having a sale on their third, fourth guest. And so I was able to save these customers like over $600 on these rooms because I just changed the promo and then updated their promo and was able to save them a lot of money on their cruise. So I do pay attention to the promos that are happening, and you can't do that like willy nilly. It has to be like within a certain time frame to be able to change promos that you've booked under. But um, I do pay attention to what's going on with all the cruises and what's the best bang for your buck and what people want. Like that's what's really important is I do ask lots of questions like what are you looking for in your vacation? Because that's a big deal because some people don't care what ship they're on. They just care about the destination and others are like I do not want to do Carnival. Whatever I do, Carnival's not my choice. And to each their own. I like Carnival, so
Yeah. You said a couple of words that I think people might not be familiar with. What is onboard credit?
okay, onboard credit is basically like they're putting money into your account that you're able to use. So, depending on the room category, so interior with Royal's birthday bash promo right now, you get $25 for the room. So that means that you can use that money towards a drink package. You can use that money towards a shore excursion because you will be paying for shore excursions. Um, balconies are $50, suites are $100, and then like a grand suite is like $250. So they put money in your account and then you can use that money however you want. So they have shops on the cruises. You can use it in there. You can use it for your Wi-Fi package to go towards that, for your drinks package. If you just want a soda one day and you didn't get a drinks package, they'll scan your card and then they'll just take that off of your onboard credit. Take it out of your account and then that sits there. So onboard credit's always a really fun promo because it's
Yeah.
like free money. So they're basically giving you money to spend.
Yeah, I love that. I have one question, then Jimmy, I'm going to come to you because I know you have a question. Talk to us about shore excursions. Safer to try to book your own or book through the cruise line? What do you
Okay,
recommend?
so I'm gonna have 2 different answers for this. if you've never cruised before, book through the ship because it's a little tricky because you'll when you're on the ship, you go into ship time. And depending on what cruise and where you cruise from, they'll say you need to be back here at 4:30 ship time. And if you've turned your phone back off of airplane mode and you're living on DR Dominican Republic time and you're late to the ship, you have to pay your own way back to get home if you're not on a cruise excursion, if you didn't book directly through the cruise. Um, so once you feel comfortable using cruise excursions and you know how it works, then I suggest kind of branching out. So I have two companies I work with. One is Shore Excursion Group, and it's kind of fun. They usually do the same tours, but theirs is usually way cheaper.
Oh,
So when Dill and I did Puerto Plata, we did the 27 waterfalls, which were so fun. You go and you take a hike and then you jump off of all of these waterfalls.
that's
And the
awesome.
same tour through Shore Excursions Group was like $50 cheaper than doing it through the cruise ship. So it's fun to kind of compare those prices. I also use a lot of Viator, and Viator just came out with a specific shore excursions itinerary. So when you use, so I have links to both of these. When I send them to my clients, you just pick the shore excursions, and then you can pick the tours that go specifically with the shores, like that go specifically with the ship. So then you shouldn't. Then you know you're on time.
Yeah.
Shore excursions group just came out with a guarantee that if they make you miss your ship, they will pay you so much money and pay your air fee to get back to where you came from. So it's a pretty good deal. They
Yeah.
really want you to use them instead of the cruise. But if you've never cruised before, if it's like your couple first cruises, I wouldn't bother with the outside vendors. I would definitely use the cruise so that you understand how the timing works and you understand like kind of what you're doing. Because if you're kind of unfamiliar, like visiting other countries and you just need to make sure you're back. I always make sure we're back like 1 to 2 hours before we're supposed to be back. That
Yeah.
way, if any we run into any problems, we have a little leeway versus watching the runners that are running last minute as the
I
ship,
do love that. I
it
do love
happens
that.
every time.
Yep,
That's
I
why
do
it's fun
love
to
it.
have a balcony.
Yep, for sure. Um, And what I don't think people realize as well is if you do get back 1 to 2 hours early, the good news is like everything on the boat is open. Like your pools
Yeah.
are open, the food is open. I guess with the exception of the shops, I think when you're docked, the shops have to be closed. But everything else is like open. You can still have it. Like I know people who will cruise and they don't get off the boat.
Yes.
Period. They just
Which
stay
is
on the
crazy.
whole time. I don't understand it because like that's why I go on a
Me
cruise.
neither.
But
Hmm.
you can do that if you choose to do that. But
Yeah.
people, you should know that when you get off, there's kind of two different ways. One, sometimes you are right at a port, so you can walk off the boat, get on a dock, and just walk into the town or whatever. There are some times where you have to ferry in from the
Hmm.
boat to whatever your location is. So just make sure you keep that time frame in mind. And you're right. Usually they'll say you need to be back by this time, so you just kind of reverse through the math and say, okay, I got to be on the docks. I can catch the little ferry back to the boat, and there's ways to do it.
Hmm.
But yeah, just keep that part in mind. I stole Jimmy's question. Did you have a follow up
But
question, Jimmy?
yeah, I do. Do you know what? Because we went on our, like I said, our first cruise, and you do get kind of nervous. Like, okay, do I go with the cruise, packages? Don't I? We were able to do our homework, and it was awesome because um we were able to find companies that were just to take just our family around to all the places that we wanted to see. And there was one that we didn't, and there's a lot of times there's people on the deck that do those excursions too. So you can just get them right there off the deck. They're
Yeah.
familiar with the time. When we were in Spain, they did that. They took us to every place we wanted to go and then got us back in just in time. Well, we were still just a couple hours early. So even if you're scared and you don't want to spend that extra money with the cruise, I noticed when I was there, at least the cruise we went on, that there's people at the dock that they're like, "Hey, where do you want to go? And I'll take you wherever
Yeah.
you want to go, and we'll get you back on time."
Yeah.
Yeah,
For
for sure.
sure. And I think that I think you need to know what ports you're going to and being kind of familiar with the
Correct.
ports. So, like, we're going on a quick cruise before Braden leaves for his mission in
No.
July, and we're going to Cabo. And Cabo, you tender in. They call it a tender. You tender in, and we've been to Cabo before, and there's like 101 people there waiting for you to get on their glass bottom boat, which is like a little like piece of glass like that. And so but there's a million people ready for you like on the cruise. um if I was doing Jamaica, I definitely would not, I would not go through someone just stepping off the ship, because
Correct. 'Cause
Jamaica's
that's
not really
dangerous too.
safe otherwise. So just know your safety levels.
Yep.
Like, there are some places that are not safe to travel with just like anybody. So just do a little bit of your homework at how safe you're going to be just hopping in somebody's homemade taxi, because
Which sometimes
you
they are
know.
homemade.
Yes, yes, we did. Oh gosh, I think it was Roatan that he just kept putting people in his little hatchback. I think we had 12 people, and Dell and I were like cramped in the back of it, and we were laughing because he had a flat tire, so we had to like stop and go get gas in his go get air in the tire, and we're laughing. There was like, it was with his work, and so it was just a bunch of work people, but I mean, if it had been just us, I would have been terrified. But there was 12 people shoved in this tiny car,
That's
and
hilarious.
it was a great experience.
What that makes me think, what are some other kind of like health and safety concerns that people should keep in mind? Obviously, like watch the people you get in cars with, but what are some other kind of health or safety things you should be concerned about?
I think cruising, just make sure you're washing your hands all the time. I mean, you are sharing space with a million people. On Royal, they call him Washy Washy, and he sits there at Windjammer and dances, and he'll make sure you get sanitizer on. And they've just made it fun to make sure that you're clean. But I mean, you are just sharing space for a long time with a lot of people. So just make sure you're washing your hands all the time. I feel like on the ship, because otherwise you don't want to get sick. That also being said, take some medicine and stuff on the ship. Like Dale and I, when we did our Virgin cruise last year, we got beyond sunburned. Like
Dang.
we got so burned that we were just lobsters, and I had not packed any ibuprofen, and so we had to go down to first aid. I think it was like $20 for an ibuprofen.
Oh, dang.
So it was like, so, and that's what they're going to charge you a lot for, just like
Yeah.
super stuff. So that being said, like, make sure you're packing, like, if you get headaches, pack your ibuprofen, pack your Excedrin, pack your Pepto Bismol, whatever. Like,
Yeah.
pack enough, because if you're going to use the ship's first aid, you're going to get charged a ton.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
So,
and one thing Natalie and I love to do too before we go on a big trip like that is we will start taking like that emergency. We'll start taking that a
mhm,
couple days before we go, and even on like the first couple of days of travel, we'll also take like nose spray to try to make sure that
mhm,
we're clearing things out. And so there are some things you can do to kind of minimize the risk because no matter how you shake it, you're going to be on a plane with two, 300 people. Then you're going to be on a boat with thousands of people, and so
mhm.
yeah, taking precautionary steps and making sure you have hand sanitizer. So if you're not able to wash your hands, you can hit hand sanitizer. But that's kind of what we do to make sure we stay in peak physical shape because you don't want to spend thousands on a cruise and then be stuck in your room sick, right? Like that's not
Yes.
fun, not fun for anyone. Um, Speaking of being stuck, talk to us about travel documents. What travel documents
Oh,
might you need for either getting on the boat or keeping on your persons while you're on an excursion? What's the best thing to do there?
okay. I love this question because I get this asked all the time. If you have a closed loop, which means like I start in Miami and I end in Miami, they will allow a birth certificate and a driver's license if you're over 16. So those two things you can do. That being said, I always recommend a passport above anything else, because a passport's going to keep you safe. Now, if you're flying, as of last week, you have to have real ID. So you have to have that star on your driver's license, or they won't allow you to fly. If you're flying with a passport, you'll still be good. So having a passport really keeps you safe. Um, depending on where you go. So Alaskan cruises, you can do the birth certificate, driver's license. But if you want to stop in Canada,
Yeah.
depending on the cruise ship you're on, they're really picky about if you didn't have a passport, you're not getting off the ship. So just get your passport. You can get away with having the driver's license pass, whatever, but and also make sure your passport has 6 months left on it. Like that's the
Mhm.
key is you have to have that 6 months. That's crucial. They may or may not allow you on the ship if you don't have that, so you just don't want to get stuck with that. Um, a good recommendation that I say, I always take my ID off of the ship. I don't always take my passport, but I do take pictures of my passport, my credit cards, and my ID so that if anything happens, I do have a photo of it.
Yeah.
So if I go to the embassy, if I get, left on whatever, I can go to the embassy. I can show that I have ID. I don't know how effective it is, but I don't want to be carrying my passport around or leaving that on the beach. Um, just for safety. I feel like it's safer to just leave tucked away. That's kind of what I've been recommended from my team lead, from other people that have traveled. But I don't know. Having that passport just opens your door. So I don't know. You can't go to Europe obviously without it. And if you
Yeah.
do an open loop, like they have, like you can do like transatlantic, so you can start in Florida and end up in Europe.
Yeah.
You'll need your passport. If you do like the Panama Canal opening, which is a really cool cruise, you'll need a passport because it's open loop. So you're ending somewhere different than you started.
Yeah, that makes
So
sense. And just for people wondering, I can't talk to Androids, but on the iPhone, you can actually create a locked note. And so actually, Natalie and I do that too. We take pictures of our important documents, put them in a note, and then make a locked note so only we can access it with a
oh,
password or whatever. And so that's
that's
really
cool.
nice, so that you don't just have your things floating in your photos in case somebody does get into your phone. So kind of an added layer of protection there. Um, what we talked about documents, we talked about where to stay on the boat, and by the way, one more thing, the rooms do have like safes, so you can put
Mhm.
like your documents, you can bring them with you and put them inside your safe, lock it up for the duration of your cruise, and have that be safe as
Yeah.
well. Speaking of things that are in your room, what should we be bringing with us? Talk to us about some key items that we should be packing that maybe the
Okay.
people don't know about, or like talk to us about what should we bring.
Okay, depending on where you're going, it's going to be
Sure.
different. What is really tricky is most rooms do not have a lot of plugs, but you cannot bring extension cords. So they will take your extension cords. You will not be able to bring them. So just be aware that there's not a lot of places to plug your stuff in, and a lot of it's anyway. So just be aware of that. Um, so bring like you can do like a two plug or whatever. You just can't bring like an extension cord.
Yeah.
So get a little smart. And I've seen like the little like cubes that have a lot of them. I've seen them take those. They confiscate those. They do have them sitting there when you get off of the ship that you can get them after. Um, you can't take like steamers. People like to take steamers or irons or whatever. You can't take stuff like that.
Yep.
They do. You can like pay like $3 and they'll launder your shirt. They'll iron your shirts for you. Um, I always recommend to take, so when you check onto your cruise, most of the time they're going to just take your bags at the curb. So I always have a ton of dollar bills with me so I can tip the people that take my bag. And then I always say take a carry-on bag. I always throw my swimsuit in my carry-on bag. So because you're not going to be able to get into your room for several hours. So you'll check in
Yep.
like at 11. You're not going to be able to get into your room until like 1 or 2. And that's the best time to go sit by the pool, go eat, go sit by the pool. So I always throw my swimsuit in my carry-on bag, and I always you keep your documents in that carry-on bag and some cash. So that's the way I can tip my porters that take my bag, and that way I can just enjoy that first day until we can actually get into the room. So yeah, I take tons of swimsuits. You always have, depending on the cruise ship, you'll have formal nights, and depending on how many nights you're on the ship, you'll have more than one formal night. So
Yeah.
7 nights or more, you're going to have two formal nights. Um, on Virgin, they don't do formal nights, but they do theme nights and they do like a red night. And so
Oh,
just know what's happening on your ship and pack to that. If you're doing Alaska, pack layers because you're
cold.
going to want layers depending on like
Yeah.
how the weather is and what time of year you're going to do Alaska. So and Europe, just make sure you have good walking shoes because you're going to be walking a lot when you go to Europe. And so just being aware of where you're going at how to pack. And honestly, like I always pack like 8 swimsuits because that's me. But don't overpack because you're really like you're really just not in your room a whole lot.
Yeah.
Like know what layers you need and don't overpack. Otherwise it's a pain trying to get that suitcase everywhere.
Agreed. A couple things that Natalie and I love to pack with us as well. For some people who don't know, and I don't know why this was such a revelation to me. It's like a no doubt thing, but the walls of the ship are metal, and so like
Uh-huh.
we actually have little magnetic hooks that we'll bring with
Uh-huh.
us and put in our room, so we can hang up wet swimsuits, we can hang up hats, things that we don't want like squished into a closet. So we love that. We actually have pop up hampers that we take with us as well
Oh,
to
that's
try to
cool.
keep things like organized a little bit because there's not a
Uh-huh.
ton of space. So those are a couple of our favorite things to bring with. Um, that you did hit on something that I think a lot of people don't know is that when you get on the boat, things are open immediately. So like you choose a boarding time, or if you're not lucky enough, you'll just be assigned a boarding time, and that's usually later in the
Uh-huh.
day. But you can get on as early as what I think they open at 10:30 or 11 usually for
Yeah,
the first kind of
typically.
go round. Take your swimsuit, and this is what I recommend. Take a backpack, same as you, Janae. Take a backpack, put your swimsuit, put card games, a book,
Yeah.
because immediately you can go hit food, you can hit the pools, you can hit almost anywhere on the ship, right? And just start to
Yeah.
hang out, except your room. They have to
Uh-huh.
have time to flip that.
Yeah.
I know that we're running kind of short on time. But I do want to hit on a couple more things that I think make people nervous. Talk to us about a muster station. What is a muster station? Kind of as a safety protocol.
Okay, the muster station is basically just to make sure everybody knows the emergency protocols. So you must do it. They do not let the ship take off until every single person's been knocked off. Um, each ship is going to do it a little differently. Virgin just has a video that you're required to watch, and then you have to like answer questions, and you're just doing it on their app. It's super quick. You don't have to leave your room for it. It's annoying. They like have these it's like song and dance. It's like it's, I mean, it's not annoying. It's annoyingly fun. On the
Okay.
other one, Princess used to make you take your life vest, and you would all meet at your muster station. And on your app, it will tell you where your muster station. It will say like muster station 3, and then it will tell you how to get there. Princess used to make you take your life vest, so you'd all be sitting there with all your life vests, and it was hilarious. They don't make you do that anymore, and your life vest juice are in your room. They always have them in your room, so look for those. Um, but you just go and they just let you know this is where you go. So if there's an emergency, this is where you're going to meet. And they'll have, if you've noticed, like on the ships, they have all the tender boats. So that will be the boat that you'll be getting on. And so you just kind of know in an emergency, that's what's going to happen. And they literally will not, they'll call your name again and again and again. If you do not make it for muster station time, your name is going to go and you're going to be embarrassed because you're going to be the last one that held the ship up and nobody's going to like you. So just go to your muster station. It takes like 2 minutes. It's like a really quick little emergency drill.
Yeah, so
Um, so you just know what's going on.
Yeah,
So
so fast. And then let's demystify really quick disembarkation, which is a weird word, and it's my least favorite word because that means your cruise is over, and you have
yes.
to get off the boat. Talk to people about what that looks like because you can do a couple things. You can either put your suitcase out the night before and they'll take it for you, or you can like carry it with you, depending upon what you
Yes.
want to do. But talk to us about the disembarkation and what that looks like.
Okay, so a couple nights before your cruise ends, you will get an option at if you are going to be, if you want to put your suitcase out the night before, and then they'll give you tags for it, and then they'll give you a time to disembark. So they'll say like your group E, and group E will have a time. So they'll be calling everybody overhead. And so then you'll go to your station, which is different than your muster station, and you'll wait until it's your group's time to go. So then you'll walk off, and then when you get down into the port, you'll go get your suitcase, and then you'll go through customs, and you're done. Or you can take your suitcase off with you. But at this point, the elevators don't work. So if you're up on like deck 12, 13, you're dragging that suitcase down, and it's kind of a pain. So I like to always check our suitcases in the night before. That's why it's nice to have your little carry on. That way you just kind of keep all your stuff that you're going to use for the next day. um and it goes really fast. And then once you're off into customs, sometimes you have to go and talk to people. Sometimes they do like a camera system. I don't even know how it works, that you just walk through and you don't even have to do anything, and it's super fast.
Yep.
So depending on the port, when we were in Fort Lauderdale, you had to like just walk through, and I don't think you even had to like say anything. You just had to show them your passport and you're on your way. When we did Miami, we literally walked through the camera system, and it was like super nice. So, and depending, I'm sure I haven't done a European one, but I'm sure that's a little bit different. But
Yeah.
I don't know. That's it. That's basically disembarkation, and it's easy. It's
Yeah, super easy. Just follow the
so
directions.
easy.
You're right. Natalie and I
Huh?
usually try to carry our suitcases off, and sometimes it does get a little tricky. Sometimes the elevators do work, but there are 5,000 people going down two
Uh-huh.
elevators, and so you will be waiting a hot minute to get off the boat.
Yes.
I have one more question, and Jimmy, I want to make sure that I not only give you mental health, but a chance to ask any remaining questions you might have. Um, can you tell us kind of like one little secret about kind of cruising, like one of your top secrets that you love to share with your clients? One of mine, for example, that I love to share with people is the main dining rooms, although you usually have dinner there, at least on Royal Caribbean, they're actually open for breakfast and lunch as well. And so if you don't want to do the buffet, you can actually hit kind of a nicer meal at
Hmm.
some of the main dining rooms. That's like one of my favorite things to tell people that they don't generally know. What's one of
Yes.
your kind of favorite secrets to share with people about cruising?
I think maybe people know this or maybe people don't, but it's my kid's favorite. Is you go when you go to main dining room and you see like two desserts you want or two main meals you want, you can order as much as you want, and they're not gonna like charge your bill. Like it's just gonna be what it is. And oh my gosh. Um so if you want that pecan strawberry salad and you also want the salmon, and if you want the side that comes with the salmon but you don't want the side that comes with your salad, then you can switch them out. Like sky's the limit when you're in the dining room, and it just makes it more personalized experience for you. um Something else that my boys love is we usually do early dining, so then at night we go to the Windjammer or whatever the buffet, and then you get like second dinner, and they think it's the best experience in the whole world. So
It
the
is the
food
best
and
experience.
and another great thing is there are restaurants that do cost money on the ship. Those are going to be like your fancy restaurants. But you also have like Guy's Burgers on Carnival is a big one. They have like Blue Iguana. Those are all free. So if you're walking by, just ask them, is everything here free? Because there are like Starbucks and stuff that are going to cost extra, but all the food truly is free.
Yeah.
Just take advantage of it. So I don't know.
I love
We're
that. That's an
cruise
amazing
people.
tip. Amazing tip. Jimmy, do you have any remaining questions for? I mean, we could probably talk about this for literally hours. Before
Yeah.
Jimmy asks any final questions, Janae, remind people where they can get a hold of you so that they can book a cruise directly with you guys. You don't have to be in Utah. Janae will service you no matter where you live. Janae, how can they get a hold of you?
Yes, I am just at travel 7 on Instagram. I also have a web page that's just at travel.cruisebrothers.com. So either way, my website's really nice because you can get on and find like all the great deals, and then you can call me and say, "Hey, look, I'm looking at this one exactly." You can book it through my website, or I can book it for you. It just gives you a lot of options, and then you can keep track and look in all the promos. So either way, I love helping people book. It's truly like my passion. I love it. I love talking cruises. I love helping people. So there you
I
go.
love it. I love it. Make sure you hit up Janae. She will make sure that your vacation is stress free. And you know, guys, listen. If a better deal comes along, she's gonna like rearrange your travel plans or the deal package and make sure you get the best bang for your buck.
I
Jimmy,
will.
any remaining questions for Janae?
No, I think this, cruises is amazing. You can have 5,000 people and how organized it really
Yes.
is.
Yeah.
Yes.
For real. For real, for real. Well, wonderful, guys. Thank you for joining us. I know this was not a typical business based episode, but we did, Janae, we had so many people talking to us about your episode, like, hey, how do I learn more information? What about cruises? So we thought we're just going to come on and demystify a cruise. So thank you for being with us, Janae. Jimmy, will you take us home with the Deseret Counseling mental health moment?
You bet. Do you know what? What's awesome about cruises, I found out, is when you, especially when you don't have the internet package, it's just nice just to unplug,
Yes.
recharge everything. And I think our daily stressors are like kind of the exact same thing. So we just need to take a mental cruise, unplug from social media, unplug from emails, unplug from work, whatever it might be. Just be present and just enjoy the moment.
I love it. Thank you, everybody. Be present. Enjoy the moment. Thank you, Jay, for being with us. Everybody, have a good night.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye.